The subject of today's episode is a method of torture that is probably the earliest known and most used method in the entire history of human cruelty. Why? Well, because of how extremely simple it is to implement. While with most methods you have to do something to someone or use something on someone, with what we are talking about today, all you do is simply not give something to someone. It just so happens to be one of the most important things a person needs to survive. Food. Going all the way back to ancient China, at least, and up to, well, today, this method has been used by kings, dictators, the military, the courts, serial killers, and even parents. And it's so horrific that it's been deemed by the Geneva Convention and the UN Security Council as a crime against humanity, and those who implement it en masse can be prosecuted with a war crime. Today we cover starvation. I'm Kevin Young.
And I'm Dan Hergen.
And this is Torture.
This episode is going to make me hungry.
I was for sure. I was going to go, I'm Kevin Young. You're going to be like, and I'm really hungry.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. It's like, oh.
Well, Billy Bolognese.
It's not my fault they're named after food items. What a stupid nickname that was.
Okay, so for people who don't kind of understand what we're talking about, none of you should yet. We recently just did a spot on somebody else's podcast, which we will have in a couple months on here. It'll all make sense then. But until then, if we make a joke about like chicken cacciatore or Billy Bolognese or something like that, it's an inside joke that you'll all be let in on probably around June, from what I understand.
Jimmy Jerky. Whatever other names they can come up with.
Now, before we get started, I want to remind everyone that if you would like to engage with us, the easiest way to do so is either DM us on our social medias or email us torturepod@gmail.com. Just like Max did. Now, Dan, I don't know if you remember a handful of episodes ago, we had a small sidebar conversation about who the first Catwoman was. It was It was a very short conversation. It only lasted a few seconds. Well, Max writes, "Hey, Dan and Kevin, I was listening to one of your podcasts, and you had asked who had played Catwoman in the Adam West Batman series. It was Julie Newmar. I'm a huge trivia buff, and my specialty is pop culture. My brain is filled with useless knowledge, but I can't tell you what I had for dinner last night. Smiley emoji. Have a great week, Max." Well, first off, Max, I understand where you're coming from. All this useless fucking knowledge just bouncing around inside your head. Can't remember what we had for dinner 2 nights ago, honestly.
That's pretty much me.
Yeah,
all the time. I only prepared dinner there, and I can't remember what it is now. What it's.
Yeah,
I haven't eaten it yet, obviously, but yeah.
Oh, there's times I'm sitting there watching TV and a commercial will come on, and I'll be like halfway through the set of commercial before the show starts back up, and I can't remember what the fuck it is I'm watching, and I have to like jog my memory. Like, what the fuck am I watching? And then it comes back up, and it's like, oh, but then it's a little bit of excitement because you forgot you were watching this. You're like, oh, awesome! Now I'm watching this. Cool.
Yeah, when you're watching TV show, and the very next day you still have to watch the previously on because the recaps because you completely forgot what it was within the last 16 hours.
Exactly. So I always watch the previously on because half the time, like some character's gonna pop up out of nowhere. And everybody else is like, oh my God, they're back. And I'm like, who the fuck is that? And then you got to watch back. You're like, oh yeah, the last episode was based completely around them. And I forgot all of it. Or when you go, You go into another room and you stand there in the doorway like, why am I in here?
We're watching the show Chuck at the moment. I watched it years ago and decided to try and get the wife into it. And like we're loving it, like she's loving it as well. But the thing is, they seem to do this jump around thing where it's like they decided they were going to go with a story and decided to then not do it, and then by the next episode it's all forgotten about. And like we're sitting there kind of going like we had to look back on episodes to see, did we miss something, did we skip something or whatever, because it was like it didn't have like on previously on this is what happened. It's just like, oh, we have to do this thing, remember this thing we're talking about? It's like, no, nobody's ever talking about that before. And it's like it's very confusing. Yeah, especially for people like us who can't remember things like within the last 3 minutes of having watched them.
Yeah. Oh, my wife and I are constantly looking at, did we miss an episode? I don't remember. Did we miss? And then and then as you watch, you're like, oh, that's right. I understand. Now I remember. Okay. Well, Max, thank you for your email. We appreciate it. Just out of the blue, love it. I don't think you gave me a last name, so we'll just go with Max. If the rest of you would like to hear your email on the show, torchpodgmail.com. And if you don't want us to read it on air, just say so, and we won't. That's fine. I don't give a shit. Just email us. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
You don't want to read? I'm fine. And then
slide into them DMs.
That's right. Ooh, one more thing before we get started. Big news about Merch Store and our Patreon that we will give you the info after the show. See how I did that? You got to wait till after the show to get the info. Sneaky. Sneaky.
Everybody hitting that plus 15 seconds button
now. I know. All right, Dan, let's take you back to the early 14th century Sweden. Your name is Birger Magnusson, and you are the king.
Very much like a Swedish name.
You are the king. Yes, you are the Birger King. Which, if you look,
you've been waiting all day to say that, haven't you?
If you look,
I'm going to say he's Burger King.
If you look up King Birger of Sweden, half of the results will come up will be Burger King, even though they're spelled differently. Birger is with an I, Burger's with a U. But yeah, I was reading up on him. Because I was trying to find shit.
Where all the Burger Kings are in Stockholm straight away.
I was trying to find the shit that wasn't coming from Wikipedia. I was trying to find the regular sources, and I'd scroll down. King Birger, Burger King, Burger King, Burger King, Burger King, Birger, King Burger. Is like, Jesus Christ, I know where all the Burger Kings are around here now. And yes, around Stockholm.
Is this going to be a story about how I, the King of Sweden, can no longer attain meatballs from IKEA?
No. So the thing about that is that you get the meatballs in IKEA and then you can't get out because of how they build the store. They make it impossible for you to find the one exit. But but at least you get meatballs. So anyway, you're at a Christmas your annual Christmas banquet. December 11th, 1317 at the Nykoping Castle. Now, in attendance are your two brothers, Eric and Valdemar, and you still hold a certain resentment towards these two, for several reasons. Through marriage and power, they were both in the process of breaking your kingdom into 3 sections for their own need to rule. Supporters of your brothers also refused to acknowledge your claim to the throne. Oh, and there was this whole... fought a civil war against you, and in 1306 decided to take you prisoner during what is known as the Hatuna Games and lock you in the castle's dungeon. The same castle you are celebrating Christmas in at this moment, for almost 2 years before being forced by the King of Denmark to set you free, after which you have to take up sanctuary in Denmark, leaving you to give up the royal domain, exchanging it for Eastern Upland, Narke, and Eric's former duchy, Sodermanland, Ostergotland, Gotland, and Castle Viborg. So, there's that.
Yeah, just like Game of Thrones, confusing names, not all moving parts.
Yeah. This story and the next story we'll have is very Game of Thronesy. So after all this time, still a little bent out of shape about it. Being, I guess, prisoner in your own dungeon for 2 years or so. I guess you have a gripe. I mean, it's understandable.
if I got locked in my downstairs bathroom for 2 years, I'm pretty sure I'd have a fair gripe. Especially if I had an extremely popular burger chain restaurant chain.
Just somebody get me a Whopper. So, well, while at this banquet, your brother's entourage are in a nearby town because you told them that there just wasn't enough room in the castle. Now, you decide that this was the time to get your revenge. So you have both of your brothers taken into custody and thrown in the dungeon. Almost Red Wedding style, except, no murder.
Stabby.
Yeah. Now, this was most likely the same dungeon you were kept in, except here's the big difference. While you were locked away, taken care of enough to keep you alive and mostly healthy, you decide your brothers don't need luxuries like, food. And you make sure that no one decides that they've been locked away long enough and then sets them free. You take what I can only assume to be the only key to the dungeon door and throw it in the Nikoping River.
Yeah, sounds about like something I'd do. All right.
So it doesn't say exactly how long they lasted, but the two died of starvation in that dungeon. What I read, actually, they had a, not like an excavation, but there was a something going on down by that castle in like the 60s, and the key was actually found on the riverbed that worked.
Oh.
Yeah. So how it made it from the early 1300s to the 1960s without anybody finding this fucking thing, I don't know.
In fact, it survived in water that long as well.
Yeah.
I know things. Yeah, it's.
Oh, it's that good medieval steel. It lasts, good Swedish engineering.
Crap we have now.
It was one of those keys where you got to put. It comes with like 9 pages of instructions of how to put it together.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like the little crappy Allen key that you get from.
It's just a little Allen key. It says Dungeon 1 on it. Oh, fuck. Now, you, however, would be chased out of the kingdom back to Denmark, where you would die while in exile just a year later. So, nobody really gets out of it. Well, good. Yeah.
Easter, but yeah, I'd be like, screw it, the boys are still gone.
Yeah, you got your revenge. That's all that really matters.
Yeah.
So this is not
more competition from the brothers in fast food.
That's
what it was.
You have McDonald. You have old McDonald.
McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah. You have
locking up the Colonel.
You got Ronald and the Colonel or Wendy locked away in the dungeon, and you can go die. And then it's Jack in the Box's turn to come up and take over.
We haven't got those places here. We haven't got a Wendy's or a Jack in the Box.
So. I am not a fan. Some people are going to freak out about this. I am not a fan of Wendy's. I'm a big proponent of trying things after a while. Like if you have something you don't like it, give it a couple of years, try it again. My ex used to bring home Wendy's a couple times, and every time I had it, the burger tasted like slime to me. The chicken nuggets tasted like the ones you can get out of the, your freezer and microwave them. I was never a fan.
Yeah.
So I need to try it again, but I'm just not a fan of Wendy's. Jack in the Box, however.
Man. Never tried it. The only one of those fast food places that I've actually tried that you can't get here, well, you can get it now, though, was Five Guys.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, any of the other ones that you can get here, like, I kind of think I've tried, and I haven't tried any of the rest of them. But
Five Guys is amazing.
For the next trip.
Yeah.
It is really good.
The
one here isn't as good, though.
Well... I would imagine the fries would still be. I mean, you got the potatoes right there just growing in the backyard.
No, yeah, I don't know what it is. It's not the same. We have them growing on the countertops, on the shelves. They're just growing next to the oven everywhere. You just go, oh, hold on a second. Just give me a second. I'm going to get some right now.
They're just shaving fries off the potatoes growing out of the wall. We went to Shake Shack for the first time. I don't know if you probably don't have those over there. We went to Shake Shack for the first time the other day. After my wife had a doctor's appointment. And oh my God, was it good. Best fries I've had in a long fucking time. Oh, God, you're right. This this episode about starvation is making me fucking hungry.
Food.
Jesus Christ.
Look, what'll happen is that when you eventually get your ass over here, we'll go on a little culinary expedition of the Irish attempts at things. There's some pretty good stuff.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good to me. Because, fuck, I'm getting that, yeah. And you need to come over here so we can go places, because I think there's a place around here that would blow your fucking mind. But,
cool.
Anyway.
Yeah, back to starving Swedes. Anyway.
Back to starving.
Back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Now, this is definitely not the first instance of starvation used in the execution or as a torture method. It's not even close. But it's a good example of how many times royalty used food deprivation as a way of dealing with others that may wrong them or dare question their rule. Now, the most famous of these royals is probably the clusterfuck of a family that ruled over Rome the last century BCE and the first century ADE. So, we're starting with Claudia Leva, the niece and also daughter-in-law of the Emperor Tiberius. Some Alabama shit.
Yep.
She was starved to death by her mother for having an affair and being complicit in the murder of her husband, Drusus the Younger.
Just a stupid name.
Yes, well, yeah, but, Roman.
Drusus the middle child.
Drusus but we have, hold on, because we have the Younger, and then we see another one of Tiberius's daughter-in-laws, Agrippina the Elder. The mother of someone we will cover at some point in his very own episode, Caligula. Who then leads to another person we will do an episode on, Nero. Now, we'll do one on Tiberius too, but, in all good time. Now, Agrippina was not in good favor with Tiberius, or really anyone in the royal family, to be honest. And after Tiberius retired and left Rome, Agrippina was exiled to the island of Pandataria, which is just so happens to be the same island her mother went to starve herself to death. Now, Agrippina would die in 33 AD of starvation, but many think that food was kept from her in such a way to make it look like the starvation was self-imposed. A lot of people in this that died of starvation because they wanted to, which is, suspect to me, but...
I swear they would have brought a packed sandwich or something with them.
Chew on a leaf.
Like Agrippina was well known to be photographed holding a meatball marinara sub at most times, so it was very suspect when she had no food.
She had a Whopper from Burger King.
King Birger, isn't it?
King Birger. He's not alive yet, but I'll get food from him.
He is in spirit.
Now, at about the same time, Agrippina's second son, Drusus Caesar, was imprisoned and starved to death. Although after a long battle with hunger, he was able to stave off death for about 9 whole days by chewing on the stuffing in his bed.
Right, okay. That's not a bad idea.
We're going to cover exactly what happens when you go through starvation. And honestly, if you get to a certain point, the stuffing inside your bed probably going to look just fine to munch down on, I would imagine. And 100%. Then there's Agrippina's youngest daughter, Julia, who was exiled to an island in 41 AD and died of, Dan, can you take a wild guess on what she died of?
Syphilis.
Oh, close. Starvation.
Oh! She also forgot to bring a packed lunch.
Yes.
Okay.
A peanut butter and jelly. Guys, a simple peanut butter and jelly will solve all this. They're delicious. Preparation.
Out there. Peanut butter with bacon jam is better.
Peanut butter with bacon jam? I've never had that. We're big peanut butter and jelly fans in my house, though. Of course, we come from the part of America that uses grape jelly. I know a lot of people come from parts that use strawberry jelly. I'm a smooth peanut butter and grape jelly guy.
So we don't get that kind of jelly.
Yeah.
Here, the closest thing we'd have to it is like jam.
Yeah. Which like I mean, it's close. It's not. It's obviously not the same thing, but it's it's. If somebody says, "Oh, give me some jelly," and all you have is jam, it works. It's just not the same.
You can get things here that are close to it, which are you get these little packets of I don't know where my camera is.
Yeah.
We get these about that size, and they're like it has that real. I want to say jelly kind of texture as opposed to like jam texture to it.
Yeah,
and it's like that long life preserved type.
Yeah,
but,
you can get
the closest you can get to it.
Yeah, you can get the little packets of like a Kentucky Fried Chicken or something like that. When you get the biscuits, sometimes you can get jelly. I don't know. Again, I don't know if they do that in your neck of the woods or not, but here you
don't got biscuits here now.
Oh, that's right. You guys don't have American style, Southern style biscuits over. God, you got to come over here, and I'm going to blow your fucking mind. Telling.
Sounds good to me.
It's not all processed plastic chemical foods. Some food is really good, and even the ones that is.
No, I've had some really damn good stuff in the few times I've been over there. But again, I've only been to New York, so.
I mean,
there's a couple of favorite places over there that I go back to again tomorrow and stuff like that. But
yeah, grab a piece of pizza.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a particular burger place in New York City that is just one of the greatest places I've ever eaten. That I'm just like, and it's not like a chain. Like I'd go back tomorrow if I could.
Wow.
So
I didn't know you'd ever been over here before. I thought
I have an aunt, what you'd call them, living in New Jersey. It's a Jersey thing.
So you came to the worst part of America. Okay, that's fine. New Jersey. New Jersey.
Hey, look, if it's good enough for the boss and Bon Jovi, it's good enough for me.
Eventually, they got the fuck out, though. So everybody moves to LA eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, but it goes even further back than, the Roman Empire. We can find examples of starvation.
People have been hungry for a really long time.
Everybody's pausing right now to go grab a fucking Twinkie. We can find examples of starvation 1,000 years earlier in ancient China. So Bo Yi and Shu Kui of the Shang dynasty died in self-imposed exile of starvation. It's this whole thing. They were loyal to the dynasty. And then when the dynasty kind of collapsed and was usurped and somebody else took over, they exiled themselves away because they couldn't. I don't remember how they put it. They couldn't support the new use of the new leaders, and they wouldn't eat any of the food because it was all being grown under the leadership of this new rule. So they starve themselves to death. It's like, well, you're fucking stupid. But
so they're boycotting food produced under this ruler.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do, but it seems
just grow their own food. Like
you would think, but they were in exile. I don't think they had anywhere to really go grow food, steal food, do something. I mean, eat something for fuck's sake. It's not that bad.
Yeah, if anything, stick it to the man that you don't like and go steal the damn
steal
food.
your food. Yeah, fuck them. But no, they decided to die instead. So that was a choice that they
live
made.
by the sandwich, you die by the lack of sandwich.
Die by the Burger King. Live by the Burger King. Die by the Burger King. Which many people over here do, just so you know. So, and other than that, there were many others, almost as ancient. There were that weren't practically suicide. So you had King of Magdaha, Bimbisara. Like, I'm probably murdering at that, but there's no way one word should have that many letters in it and only have like two sounds that come out of it. I'm sorry. He was imprisoned by his son and died of starvation in 491 BC. Spartan general Pausanias in 470 BC. King Wu Ling of Zhao in 295 BC, and this one I found interesting, Pope John the 14th in 984 AD. Now, I know this one isn't as ancient as the others, but Pope died of starvation It's kind of funny.
Yeah, like probably was quite possibly the most powerful human being on the planet
at the time.
at
Yeah,
that stage.
yeah, the
Like,
10th century. Yeah, I mean,
what about that communion bread? No, like that's probably why he died malnutrition
Yeah.
because of that damn.
well,
crap.
and the fact that the Catholic
Crackers.
Church and the Catholic Church was responsible for so many people dying, a lot of them from starvation because they took all their wealth, kept it for themselves, and left the people with nothing for the Pope to die of starvation. I mean, that's karma.
Kind of ironic.
Yeah, if I ever saw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's dozens, if not hundreds, of other examples. I can't list every single fucking one. God damn it! What do you want from me?
Lots of people have died due to hunger.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to even more here in a little bit, but just wanted to pick out a few historical figures so you can see that the starvation's one of those tortures that doesn't matter who you are, anybody can be susceptible to it if the parameters are right. It was also used as a punishment for actual crimes, like in the case of John Treyman, who was placed in a cage on top of a rock on Castle and Dinez Downs in Cornwall after being found guilty of murdering 2 teenage girls. I have no idea if I actually pronounced that right.
It's the Denis, is it?
Is it the Denis? See, what I looked up...
I'm going to mute my mic so I can type. Give me a second.
Go ahead. I looked up how to pronounce it, and they pronounced it Dinez, but again, internet.
Well, yeah. Let's see what it's talking about now.
Yeah.
Castle on Dinus.
Dinus?
Yeah, it's not Denis. I don't know. I thought it was Denis. I thought it was spelled differently.
Well, you're not from Cornwall, so it's okay. I mean, I don't.
No.
Yeah. If this was Irish, then I'd
English.
say you should know. But
goddamn English.
God, fucking British.
Oh God, I'm worse at Irish than I am at English. My God, language.
Well, either way, he was found guilty of murdering 2 teenage girls, so they put him in a cage on a rock on the castle's property. And he was left there in 1671 to starve. Now, apparently, at one point, he begged a passing woman for food, and all she had was a couple tallow candles, which are candles made of animal fat. So technically, edible.
Yeah.
I guess.
Fun.
But she gave them to him, and he devoured them. I mean, he took it all in. It doesn't say how long he had been starving up to that point. If he was in that window where you could still take in food and not get sick. But I mean, he devoured the fuck out of them. Also, no word on how long he lived, but from what I've read, local people used to refer to a no-gooder as a right tremon. So if you ever heard that saying,
Never heard
a
that
right
before.
tremon, if any of our fans in Cornwall have heard that, that's where it comes from. And apparently the lane that the bloodhounds tracked him down on is still called Tremon Lane to this day. And, a lot of history for
cool.
people over in Cornwall.
You ever have a Cornish pasty?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, sure haven't.
Same. Oh, yeah. Damn good, so they are. You got one thing right there, Cornwall. Your pasties. Very good.
Yeah. And
You're
your
actually,
name?
it's very interesting, the whole thing behind them. But...
Like what?
Oh, the whole point, they're made for, like, miners or something. So the whole thing is, that's like a half moon shape thing of pastry that's filled with basically like a whole dinner. Like
Okay.
Like meat
Okay.
and sauce.
Yeah, like a
vegetable,
like
and
like
potatoes.
like a
pie you can
like
hold
a
in your
pie, like a
hand.
hand
The whole-
pie. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
the whole point is that the crust is actually kind of thick around the edge, so they can hold it and eat the rest of it without getting dirty hands onto the rest of the pie where they're going to be eating.
Right.
So they can just discard the end of the piece that they're holding.
Okay.
And they are goddamn delicious.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I used to make them myself, but I must
yeah.
make them again. I haven't made them in a while.
They sound good.
I like them.
What do you put yours? What do you put in yours? Like lamb, beef?
I did like loads of different ones, where I did like chicken ones and beef ones and things like that. I did like an Indian style one for the fun of it before.
Ooh.
think that it was like a curry type thing just for the fun of it.
Blow your asshole out.
But yeah. Just a typical Saturday night. Oh yeah.
What's Dan doing? Blowing out his asshole.
Yeah. Well, not for another few days. It's only Wednesday.
So let's take a look at what starvation actually does to the body. What happens when you stop taking in nutrition? Okay, now the average person needs anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 calories a day just to keep the body going. That's on average. Obviously, if you're a smaller person, you need, and you're less active, you need, like 1,200 calories. If you're a bigger person or you're more active, you need significantly more. But on average, 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day should keep you going all right. Once you go below your body's need in caloric intake, you don't just start to lose weight. You also get fewer nutrients and vitamins, forcing your body into a nutrient deficiency, and your metabolism slows. Do that for long enough, severe enough, you get loss of bone density and muscle mass shortly after that. So let's take a step-by-step look at what happens. Let's see how gross we can get with it. After about 72 hours without food, you are officially in starvation mode. Yeah, well, that will come up in a minute. But you are eventually in. You are officially in starvation mode. The glucose in your blood is depleted, and your ketone levels go up, causing your body to burn fat stores for energy, resulting in rapid weight loss. This is called ketosis. And ketosis is a natural metabolic state of our body that it activates when the blood sugar levels go down, preventing the brain from accessing glucose for fuel. We don't want to. Your brain usually burns up carbohydrates for fuel. So glucose, we don't want it to get there. Now, during the initial phase of this state, we will start to feel fatigued. You'll have headaches, constipation, high cholesterol levels, and bad breath. I guess because you don't have quite enough fluid going through your body. You're not producing enough saliva to keep your mouth moist, and a dry mouth is a stinky mouth.
I assumed it would be kind of similar to, when you don't run the shower for a couple of days, and it could be like a build-up in the U-bend.
Yeah, it's that bacteria that gets to kind of grow because there's nothing washing it away.
Nothing washing it away.
Yeah. When I worked construction, we had a few houses that the basements filled up with water quite a bit before we were able to get the problem fixed. That water would build up and we'd have to get rid of it. And when we finally got it fixed and we got all the water out and the ground dried, after it dried and we started scraping up all the mud and muck and everything, the smell was outrageous from the amount of the amount of bacteria and God knows what else was living in it. But yeah, if you have bad breath, there might be a chance that you are in ketosis. But I feel you would probably know that.
Might just be that your breath smells like shit.
You could just have stinky breath. Brush your teeth, take a drink, should be all right. Now, being in a ketosis state isn't really concerning. I mean, there's an entire diet dedicated to it. Keto, that's what it is. Keto diet. Boom. And you can easily get out of ketosis just by eating something. You just eat something. Literally anything. Just eat something and your body will burn it up.
That's the stuffing from your mattress.
The stuffing from your mattress. Burger King.
Yeah. Don't eat poor Birger. Oh, poor Birger.
It's after the ketosis stage in which things start to get serious and worrisome. So if starvation continues beyond the 72 hours, our bodies will enter what experts call a stage of autophagy, where the body will literally eat itself. After the body has broken down all the fat that it could for fuel, the brain would then instruct it to break down the proteins in the muscles. This would result in your muscles deteriorating, making you lose more weight in the form of muscle mass. Your heart, gut, liver, ovaries, and or testes will also shrink as a result, like getting into a cold pool.
So that's what's going on. That was something else.
I'm hungry. That's what's wrong.
That explains it. Yeah, get me a sandwich. Sorted. Fixed.
By this time, malnutrition will also occur since the body's not getting the proper vitamins and nutrients it needs. There will be a loss of electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, and secretions of insulin and cortisol will be altered. The loss of calcium will mean that bone loss and that is the loss of calcium will mean that bone loss resulting in weaker bones. That took a while to get out of my fucking face. There we go.
You got there.
Yeah. Women will...
Proud of you.
Thank you. I don't deserve a gold medal, but can I have one of those little blue participation ribbons that we all get?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask this for everybody to pause this for 1 second and give Kevin a round of applause there now for getting there, and then we can resume.
I'm going to put in the little cricket sound right there. Women will also have their menstrual periods affected by starvation. Vision begins to blur. Hair falls out. Nails become thin and weak. After this stage, our bodies will begin to adjust to the situation, slowing down your metabolism to conserve as many nutrients as possible. By now, most of the pain, the hunger pain, or pangs as they call them, is pretty much gone. That lasts for the first few days, and then that feeling of like intense pain that you get when you're incredibly hungry, haven't eaten in a long time, that kind of subsides, and then you're just stuck.
Like lunchtime.
Yeah. Like, you ever gone like a really long time and not eaten, and all of a sudden it's just like, I don't feel hungry anymore. Like, almost the thought of food makes you feel kind of sick. That's kind of where you are to an extreme level.
I say no, because I'm a fat bastard. I'm always eating, so it's like, you've gone, no, what are you talking about?
So anyway, after this stage, our bodies will begin to adjust to the situation, slowing down your metabolism to conserve as many nutrients as possible. The brain will also use only 30 grams of glucose a day, so it won't strain the body too much. However, this will also result in you feeling weaker and malnourished, and having less energy to perform tasks and activities, making it difficult to function at a basic level. Worst of all, starvation will make you susceptible to diseases, weakening your immune system, slowing your ability to heal wounds, and having poor response to infection. So if you are already sick or weak, starvation will only make your condition worse. People, you get a big cut on your arm, the torture or whatever, before they throw you in the dungeon to starve to death, they, punch you in the face. When your body's going through the starvation, at the end of it, you probably still have that cut on your arm or that bruise on your face.
Yeah. Damn, I'm really hungry. My face.
I just want something to eat, but this fucking tooth. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could start experiencing anemia, gallstones, hypotension, kidney disease, and less frequent urination. But a person's physical capacity isn't the only thing that's affected, since starvation also affects mental capacity. When you are starving, it'll be hard to concentrate and focus. Your cognition will be slowed. Thinking is restricted, and states of anxiety and depression will start to invade a person's mind. During starvation, it's not uncommon for people to act lethargic or irritable. One article likens a starving person to a cornered animal, since starvation puts you in a state of threat. It radically changes people and the way they may potentially act towards you. You can also become very aggressive or violent due to becoming, quote-unquote, hangry. So yes, hangry is a real thing. And no, at this point, a Snickers will not help.
I was going to say, I must be like malnourished or in a constant state of hangry because you just basically described me on a daily basis.
Dan's sitting there contemplating his life, like, am I just hungry all the time? What the fuck?
Telling people to fuck off.
I think that's just the Irish in you. I think it's just because you're Irish. You're just pissed off because you're Irish. And that's the way you were, Like, have you been here? Have you looked around? Fucking pissed. Fucking British.
Kiss me, Barney.
The Blarney Stone. I hear that local residents actually like to go piss on it because so many tourists like to kiss it. Is that true?
Nah, that wouldn't happen. Chances are that's nah.
Okay.
Nah, it's you'd be surprised like at how much people actually kind of like that stuff here. Okay. They're all kind of proud of that as a rule. Now, I'm obviously not a local to that area, but I would not think that would be a thing.
All right. Yeah, and it was one of those internet things that popped up, like things that tourists.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did at one time, but the thing is, that people going to go kiss it doesn't impact anyone. I mean, it's not sitting there like as if it's in the middle of a busy junction in a town and people are running over.
Yeah, it's in a castle, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's like it's out of the way. It doesn't hinder or doesn't cause any issues for anybody locally. If anything, people going there brings tons of business to the area, right. So they like it because this country basically lives on tourism.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we don't want to be pissing on people's stones that they're going to want to be kissing.
Yeah, so. I can see though people being like, this fucking traffic, these goddamn tourists, and then they just go up and be like, watch this, and they piss on it, just be like, next person that kisses it's gonna get. That's definitely something that would happen over here.
I can tell you from being in the area, the traffic's never that bad there.
Yeah,
that they do that. Like, it's right next to a motorway, basically, and stuff like that. It's so close to them that it's never an issue. Like, with getting there wouldn't be an issue. Okay. I've never actually done it myself, though. I've been up there in the area several times. I've still never done it.
Really?
I must make a point of doing it sometime. Yeah, I go piss on it and then go give it a kiss.
Well, I think that's one of the things. Like you're not local to that area, but Ireland, let's face it, is not a gigantic. It's Ireland. It's not a gigantic place. So everywhere you are, you're like, oh yeah, I can be there in a couple hours.
Yeah. Well, I was always shocked at the fact that like the amount of distance that I've witnessed people do just to go for shops and things like that is far longer. Like over the States is far longer than I would ever imagine going. I mean, anywhere like to get from one side of our country to Europe, if you go directly from east to west coast, the quickest way possible, like straight from Dublin to Galway, is a straight line basically across, and it's 2 hours straight across. And right. I think it's the thing is we haven't got enough motorways, but like to go from north to south would take quite a few hours, but it's still not that much. It's only because of the crap roads that we have. So
yeah.
So everywhere's close enough. I can get to there. I think it's only about 30-40 minutes from me.
Yeah, so to get it takes about 2.5 hours to get from one end of the state I live in, from east to west, to the other, and about 7 hours to get from top to bottom. But, there's like a
your
bunch
state's
of states
bigger than my country.
Yeah. Illinois is, big. I think Illinois is bigger than Ireland. But like I think it's one of those things where, it's right there. You can go do it whenever you want. You just never do. Because it's just not something like, oh, hey, let's go kiss the Blarney Stone today. It's like, well, why?
Yeah, I'm going to Google it.
It's like people in New York, most people in New York have never been up in the Empire State Building, have never gone out to see the Statue of Liberty. Because it's there. You grew up with it. It's right there. Most people who live in the city that it's at, they don't actually go do the stuff because it's fucking there. Why would you?
2 hours drive, actually, from my house to the Blarney Stone. But I get what you're saying though. It's like that's the thing when I moved to the town here, Galway, quite a number of years ago now. An awful lot of guys there that I was working with were like, "My God, more pubs and more restaurants and more this and more that here than we do."
Yeah,
because they don't go to these places because they grew up there. And I can understand that because like when I was growing up in Dublin, there was one of the local pubs and like a few other places all around the area I never went near. Because there were. For whatever reason, I just didn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But you don't do those things.
Yeah, I live not too far away from St. Louis, and we have the Arch over there, And I was what, almost 30 by the time I finally went up in the arch. And I've been to St. Louis more times than I can fucking count. You know, my mom worked there for a long time. We used to go there all the time, but I didn't go inside the arch until I was with, you know, my wife, and we had, you know, 5 kids with us at the time. So, you know, if you live in a city where they got cool shit and you've never done it, just go fucking do it. Just go do it.
Yeah, like I never did the Guinness tour. I must do it sometime.
I've never been on the Budweiser tour, and apparently it's fantastic. But
really,
yeah, no, I'm not a beer drinker. I'm not an alcohol drinker. That's not something I do. But I think it would be fun to go on. It's just not one of those things I ever did. You know,
I did a tour in the Dogfish Head Brewery tour when I was over. Last time I was over, it was very good. Yeah. It was over in the States. It's really good. Anyway, sorry.
No, I'll bring you over here. We'll go on the Budweiser tour.
Pee on some stones.
I'll bring you over here. We can go on the Budweiser tour together, and you can spend the entire time telling all of them how their beer is shit.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. That's really good.
They see you walk in, I'm like, this is Dan. He's from Ireland, and all the tour guides' faces just go just pure white because they know what's coming. Like, fuck. He knows what beer tastes like. Water.
Here comes that beer snob. Asshole.
So after all this, then comes one of 2 diseases, usually. Marasmus and kwashiorkor. I know. It's a weird sound. It's spelled weird too. But yeah.
Sounds like the world's worst Pokemon.
Kwashiorkor!
Kwashiorkor! I'll pick you.
And he just like shoots his web or leaf or water or whatever, and as the other Pokemon,
Starvation.
The other Pokemon just gets emaciated. It's horrifying. Oh fuck! That might be the name of the show. The world's worst Pokemon. Who knows? Now, marasmus is a severe form of protein energy malnutrition, where a person who is suffering from it is experiencing a severe loss of body fat and muscle. This condition occurs when a person is not consuming enough proteins and calories to sustain the body. This disease is more common in children, and those who suffer from it don't grow as normal children do. Children who also experience this are also likely to suffer from repeated infections and could be fatal, like respiratory infections. Other possible complications that could result because of marasmus are measles, diarrhea, hypothermia, bradycardia, which is slow heart rate, and hypotension, which I think is weird. On one hand, you can get diarrhea from being starved, from just too much fluid in the stomach, getting more acid in your digestive system than you are food. You can also go constipation because now you don't have enough fluid in there. So I guess you just flip a coin.
You're getting a bit of both. It's like, God damn it, when will this ever end?
Constipation, diarrhea.
When will this ever start?
If I could just get it in the middle. If I could just mix my diarrhea and my constipation
turn
together.
Turn on the tap.
If I just
switching it off real quick.
If I could just get it in the middle, it would be perfect. Jesus Christ.
I just have this mental image now.
Oh. We've all been there. Now, marasmus is an emergency condition that is life-threatening and will require immediate treatment. Full recovery from this disease can take months. Now, kwashiorkor is another form of severe malnutrition that is caused by the lack of protein in the body. But people who are suffering from this disease are abnormally thin and weak all over their bodies except the ankles, feet, and belly. Now, these 3 body parts usually swell because of fluids.
That's why you see, you have this thing here the whole time, the starving kids in Africa, and they have the bellies.
Yep. That's the distended belly. This is why.
Yeah. Because I remember being a little kid and going, how come you're saying he's hungry, yet he has a bigger belly than me? He obviously eats more pie than me.
Uh-huh.
And no. It's because he's hungry. He has the belly, kids. That's why I have a belly. Because I'm hungry. We're still getting onto it.
I hear you.
That's what it is.
I hear you. God, it's solving so many of my problems. which is a horrible thing to say.
But
if photographers take the pictures of the kids with the big bellies, because if they put up kids like just a few days later when that fluid is gone and those bellies get sunk in, it would be too horrifying to put on TV or put on a brochure or anything like that. So they have to have something.
But they're fine to have flies going onto their eyeballs and stuff like that. But they're
so. Children who suffer from this disease will also have problems growing and developing and may suffer from stunted growth for the rest of their lives. Other complications associated with the disease include shock, coma, permanent mental and physical disabilities. Now, this disease is curable as long as a treatment is done early, but there could be permanent side effects, especially in children. If this disease is left untreated, it will lead to organ failure and death. All of this can take 20 to 40 days, depending on the size, age, and overall health of the person. Child is going to die a lot quicker than a 350-pound man who is already fat, had plenty of, fat stores to live off of. I read one, I don't remember who it was. It was kind of...
mattresses to eat.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those... passing stories that you just glanced at and then you kept going. But I read somebody was able to survive like 347 days without food somehow. Again, I don't remember the entire story. It was just one of those I saw it and I kept going type thing because
probably his Call of Duty character or Grand Theft Auto character or something.
He still has a Tamagotchi that hasn't eaten from 1997. And it's like, feed me.
Feed me, Seymour.
So it's also important to note that people who experience prolonged starvation can't immediately start consuming normal amounts of food. They have to not eat a bunch of food after they've been starving because of what is called refeeding syndrome. Now, you may be asking, what the fuck is refeeding syndrome? Dan, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's close enough to what I was going to ask, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. Refeeding syndrome is a condition that occurs as a result of the reinstitution of nutrition in people and animals who are starved, severely malnourished, or metabolically stressed because of severe illness. So when too much food or liquid nutrition supplement is taken in during the initial 4 to 7 days following starvation, the production of glycogen, fat, and protein in cells may cause low serum concentrations of potassium, magnesium, and phosphate. There's a lot of fucking words being thrown around. Cardiac, pulmonary, and neurological symptoms can be a sign of refeeding syndrome. Low serum minerals, if severe enough, can be fatal. So actually, when you're starved for a long time and somebody offers you food and you eat a ton of it, it can kill you.
Science.
Pretty much. It's like if you get really bad frostbite. If you're stuck out in the snow for a while and your hands get frozen or your toes get frozen, the last thing
you don't stick them right in the fire.
The first thing you want to do is stick them in a fire, stick them underneath some boiling hot water and warm them up. It's going to feel so good. It's actually the worst thing in the world you could fucking do because it will destroy the tissue and you will lose that part of your body. You got to warm them up gradually. Stand 3 to 5 feet away from a fire and then warm them up slowly.
Wrap them up in something dry.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
But you can't, the body can't go one extreme to the other for long periods of time. One extreme for a long period of time and then all of a sudden switch over to another extreme real quick. The body can't take that type of whiplash. You'll kill yourself. So when it comes to food, boiled vegetables and lactose-free food should be consumed first, slowly. And I'm talking like boil yourself a head of cabbage and take 2 bites and then don't touch anymore for the rest of the day.
Rather die of starvation, thank you very much. That's coming from an Irishman. We're raised on fucking cabbage and ham.
Gotta bring up my ex, but my ex used to boil cabbage. She loved cabbage and ham. She used to fucking boil it. I had to leave the fucking house because it stinks so bad. It's horrible. That Brussels sprouts, boiled Brussels. Oh my God. I love Brussels sprouts. You cut them up.
Wait a second, that was my God.
Oh my God. It's my Boston came out. Oh my God.
They're not a fucking cook.
You cut up some Brussels sprouts, roast them in some bacon fat. They're fucking delicious. But if you boil them, ugh, I can't be in the same fucking house. It's disgusting. The smell is just one giant fart. It's horrible because all the sulfur inside is released into the water and it just comes out in vapor. It's fucking horrible.
Bit of a public service announcement here. What Kevin said about Brussels sprouts and you fry them with other stuff and they're delicious is a complete and blatant lie.
It is not.
They are still horrible.
No, Brussels
hate them so much.
Brussels sprouts roasted in bacon fat with some bacon on top. Oh God, I love them so goddamn much. Now, granted, I can only eat them like once every couple months. Otherwise, my body would kill everybody in a 5-mile vicinity because the smell you get when they are boiled is the same smell you get after I eat them. So just to let everybody know, that's what I got going on. But no, roast some Brussels sprouts, roasted asparagus. Oh, I'm in for it. I love them. Love it.
Anyway. Damn, we're getting hungry. I texted my wife and told her to turn on the oven.
This is just one big food sidebar episode. That's all it is. So now that you know the sweet hell that is the process of starving to death, let's talk about mass starvations that have been happening for, well, as long as humans have been waging war against one another. The Spartans used it against Athens during the Peloponnesian War in 376 BC. The Romans used starvation to defeat Carthage in 146 BC, destroying food, farms, cutting off aid. During the American Civil War, General Grant, he was known to order his troops to burn crops and target civilian property as a way of breaking Southerners' will to fight. The Nazis used the quote-unquote hunger plan to seize food from the Soviet Union and give it to German soldiers and civilians. The plan entailed the genocide by starvation of millions of Soviet citizens. Estimates as high as 4.2 million Soviets, Russians, Belarusians, and Ukrainians starved between 1941 and 1944. 3 years, 4.2 million people starved to death.
That's some fucked up numbers, to be fair.
And those are numbers that you don't really learn about. At least over here, you don't really learn about that in school. When you talk about World War II, it's Holocaust. You don't really learn about like Stalingrad.
People getting blown up and shit.
Yeah, it was a horrible. It's a horrible. And even with that high number, the plan was seen as a failure, as it was never fully implemented. They wanted tens of millions to die a slow, painful death in order to help feed the Germans. Now,
it wouldn't quite been as exciting a film if Saving Private Ryan was about them trying to get a sandwich to a guy halfway across. So you can understand to a certain extent why they don't teach us that side of things.
Yeah, the whole they just starved an entire portion of a nation. It's not as exciting as the actual fighting and all that. But we didn't even learn about Stalingrad, where millions of people died fighting the war, not like just hanging out and dying of starvation, but actually fighting. Like the bodies were so high you had to walk over them. It was pretty much an ocean of blood. You could still go to that part of Stalingrad and find bones from soldiers that were there. That's a whole nother. Listen to Dan Carlin talk about the Battle of Stalingrad. It's like 4 hours long, but it's riveting. Now, speaking of Nazis, we can't really talk about mass starvation without speaking for a second on the Holocaust, where prisoners were starved to the point of death, all while still being forced to work manual labor until they dropped, and then they were either shot, gassed, or thrown in a cell to die. Mass starvation killed more than 3 million people in Stalin-area Ukraine in the 30s and more than 18 million in China during Mao Zedong's Great Leap Forward in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, 18 million. Of course, that's a drop in the bucket for how many people actually live in China, but still, that's a lot of fucking people. And the ongoing war in Yemen has left thousands to die from starvation due to Saudi-sponsored forces depriving citizens of food, clean water, and health care. With all that, the use of mass starvation had become such an issue that in the 70s it was finally decided at the Geneva Convention that it would become a war crime. Not only is the starvation of civilians prohibited, so too is the destruction of objects indispensable to the survival of the populations. So technically, it is a war crime to go into a country and start blowing up all their water treatment facilities or their food processing plants or wherever they would keep, elevators where they would keep their corn and their grain.
So modern equivalent of sieging.
Yeah, technically, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
Does it happen? Fuck yeah, it happens. Just look at Ukraine now. It's what Putin is doing. They are trying to do their best to wipe out all of their foodstuffs. But technically, you're not supposed to do that.
Well, I don't think that he gives a shit about
I
that.
don't think
he technically should not be doing what he's doing in the first place. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully the cancer gets him soon and we don't have to worry about it. But then there's just going to be somebody else just as bad as him come up afterwards, and then we got that to deal with. So sometimes the devil is... Anyway, the UN Security Council finally recognized conflict-related food insecurity as an issue in 2018. So all these people that are doing this shit now, technically they can be put on trial for war crimes. Doesn't mean they will. First you have to win the war. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Then, of course, there are the stories of everyday people that implement this horrific action on others, usually ones that they are supposed to protect. The true crime stories that contain acts of starvation torture, like Linda Hazard, also known as the Starvation Doctor, who killed at least 15 people due to her, quote, fasting cure at her sanitarium, which she used almost with a cult mentality, brainwashing her patients into thinking that the only thing that would heal them was fasting, as she forged their signatures to enrich herself. Like, sign over everything you have, pretty much, in your weakened state, where you're not thinking right because you're so fucking hungry, and then she pretty much just left them to die. One woman in her care, Claire Williamson, in fact, this is the woman that would actually lead to her getting caught and tried, was only 50 pounds when she died of malnutrition. That's a full-grown woman.
God. Dear Lord.
Yeah.
That's...
And,
yeah.
of course, Hazard herself would then die in 1920 from self-imposed starvation. So, Linda Hazard is probably
like pesky Romans.
She's probably going to be another one of those that we cover somewhere down the road, because it really is an interesting story about how she started the sanitarium. She wrote a bunch of books about how fasting can cure pretty much any illness. A bunch of people die because of it. She's in and out of prison because of it. Starts a sanitarium, gets ran out. Starts another sanitarium, gets ran out. Finally, in the 1920s, she dies because she tries to cure herself by, starving herself. And
starving. Yeah.
Technically, she did cure herself. She's not sick anymore.
Well, that's true.
if you want,
cloud and all that.
If you want the worst, dullest silvery lining to a cloud ever, technically she's not sick anymore.
You're a real glass half full kind of guy, aren't you?
I'm the glass is twice the size it needs to be kind of guy. Yeah.
I'm just hungry.
We got to send each other food, so we'll take care of that.
True.
Yeah. So then there's the story of Donald Gunderman and Danielle Pascal, who tortured, beat, and starved an 8-year-old boy they kidnapped when he was 4. They kept him locked in their basement for 4 years. During that time, they shot him with a BB gun, beat him with objects, and urinated in the small amount of food he was given. When he was finally saved, he was only 35 pounds, still the size of a 4-year-old.
God.
And there's Soledad Mendoza and Ruben Marino, who starved both of Mendoza's twin 8-year-old girls. Beaten, kicked, had trash bags put over their heads, and then they got locked in a closet. Now, one of the girls died of starvation just days before Christmas in 2020. So when I say happens today, somewhere on this planet.
Yeah, very close to today, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere on this planet, there's somebody who has a child locked in a closet or in a basement, and they are dying of starvation. I know it sucks to think about, but it's just how it is. It's true. And
people with the name Mendoza are the issue. Mendoza!
Yeah, there's literally countless of these stories that you could find. I wouldn't suggest looking them up because they're all super depressing, but they are there.
Yeah, not quite as lightly entertained as us talking about sandwiches and starvation.
So,
with the same sentence.
With all that said, all this sadness and despair, let's talk about our merch store and Patreon. Yeah, finally. By the time this episode is public, both our merch store and our Patreon will be live and ready for you to shop. So if you want the merch store, you can either go to our Linktree, which is honestly the easiest way, and just click on the link to our store. Linktree can be found on our socials, at TorturePod, wherever you're at. Or you can go to redbubble.com/people/torturepod, where you can get anything from shirts to hats to water bottles to shower curtains. I mean, they have almost anything that you can put your logo on, they have it. So if there's something you want, says Torture on it, or any one of the many designs we have come up with, it's going to be at Redbubble. And they do international shipping, I believe. So
love Redbubble. I'm always buying from Redbubble.
So need to be fully transparent here with Redbubble and a lot of these other sites. Kind of the quality that you get depends kind of on where you are. Because what places like Redbubble and Teespring and Bonfire and all these other places do, these print-on-demand shops, is they take your order and then they find the people that will put the logo on whatever it is you want. They find the one that's closest to your area, or within the price range of what we had set in your area. They print it and ship it to you. So the quality that you might get in Sandusky, Ohio might be completely different than the quality you would get out in Pasadena, California, or over in Dublin, or over in, Hong Kong. It's going to be different pretty much wherever. So if you get bad quality, let us know so we can let Redbubble know, and you let Redbubble know. But hopefully the quality for everything we send out is top of the line. I know that we'll have exclusive merch for Patreon, but we're going to get to Patreon here in just a second, but we'll have exclusive merch for people just on the Patreon. That will not go through Redbubble. That will go through Bonfire. The quality for them is supposed to be top notch no matter where you're from. So it's a little bit more expensive, and you can't get the water bottles and the shower curtains, which I know we all want. You can get the shirts and the hats though. So
yeah, like I'd like a picture of your one holding the meatball sub now on a t-shirt. Like the ancient Roman style art, like you know that whole thing. Yeah.
Just have a Swedish king lost inside an IKEA.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that'd be great.
His meatballs locked into an IKEA. That's why they have meatballs and food in IKEA now, is because they got used to their kings being locked in rooms. And it's now when you are lost and locked in, you can't get home. You can't die of starvation.
They don't want you to starve and start eating the stuffing out of all their beds.
That's it.
That's what it is. See how it all comes around full circle, everybody? Now, as far as the Patreon goes, let's get into all the paid tiers and how much they are and what you get with them. Before I do, all right, I want to let everybody know that not all of the perks for each tier are ready to go. We're still working on getting some exclusive stickers that are just for Patreon members and some exclusive merch made up. There's some extra episodes of stuff that we'll have to record to put on there for you guys. But it's all coming. So with that said, lowest tier, just $3 a month, you can be a torture noob. And with being a torture noob, just like our good friend, the award-winning podcast mogul Phil Better, who was definitely a torture noob when he was on our Christmas episode, you can get a shout-out at the end of the show, a free torture sticker when available. Those will be the special ones that we have made that we will send out on our own. You won't be able to buy these stickers on like Redbubble or something. You can get a sticker on Redbubble, but not these stickers. We're going to have something nice and pretty for you. You'll have access to our exclusive Discord, which you will be able to get on forever. It's not going to be one of those, well, I didn't pay my $3 monthly subscription this month, I can't get on the Discord. No. Once you're a member, you're always a member. We're not going to kick you off. You're part of a community. That's great.
That's lovely.
Yeah. You'll have access to Dan's song that he wrote for Joey over at the Please Don't Follow Me Home podcast. You can use it as a ringtone or download it, put it on your phone. We don't give a shit. And you'll have early access.
Don't do that.
No, do it. I'm going to do it for mine. You'll have early access to public episodes, the audio only. So the second these episodes are edited and done and ready to go, they're put up on the Patreon, and you can be listening to your episode 2-3 days before anybody else's, if that's important to you. Now, we go up to $5 a month, and you become an executioner. Now, what you get with that is everything that you get in the Torture Noob tier, plus ad and promo-free episodes as soon as they are ready, early access to our brand new merch, and access to our video podcasts, again, when available. That's really, as Patreon has down on here, that's really the best bargain for what you can get. I mean, I think the highest tier is the best bargain, but that's just me. I'm biased. Then we go to our $10 monthly tier, where you can be a cult leader. So, as a cult leader, you get everything included in the Torture Noob tier and the Executioner tier, plus extended episodes of both audio and video. You can see and hear all of our little screw-ups, access to exclusive merch with limited supply, access to the upcoming episodes of The Difference Between Irish and American Foods when available. Because we will be doing that. First, we have to send the food, we have to send the packages to one another, and then we are going to record The Difference Between Irish and American Foods. I would imagine that we'll probably put one, once we start doing it, we'll put like one out a month or something.
Torture a la carte.
That's a better name than what I have. That's great. And then if you really want to splurge and support us, you can spend $15 a month and become an Inquisitor. Now, with an Inquisitor, you get everything from the other 3 tiers, plus early access to our exclusive merch, discounts on said exclusive merch, a sit-in on a scheduled recording of an episode, so you will actually get to sit in and listen and watch us as we record it. Now, your microphone probably will be muted, unless there's just one of you, and then we might let you join along. Who knows? But it will be a scheduled episode that we'll have however many people in the Inquisitor tier sitting in with us as we record live. And if you subscribe for 3 months straight, you will be sent a free gift. Tell you what the free gift is. It's it's a mug. It's not like we're sending you, keys to a car or anything. It's just a mug, but it's a nice mug. It's a special mug. I designed it myself.
New Porsche 911 Carrera GT.
I designed it myself. So, but yeah, that's our Patreon. If any of that sounds good to you, head over to patreon.com/torturepod and sign up. Again, some of the stuff still working on, still putting it up. We have lives, we have other things we have to do, so things aren't going to be thrown up there immediately. But I'm going to try our best to get everything up there that we can. And then when you join the Discord, should see me and Dan on there as moderators. Dan, I believe you still have to.
I literally just joined.
Okay. Well,
this second.
Okay.
I just literally because my Discord's acting the bollocks, as we say.
That's fine.
So,
all right. But that's all we got, guys. That's it. I know it was a show about starvation. We spent more time talking about actually eating food than starving from not having food. But it is how it is. You can go follow us on Instagram. Actually, do you have any pop culture references that you want to bring up, Dan? Before
not for starving. No, well, the only thing I thought of at the time is I didn't look up any pop culture references because I had to do with starving. But I just know that there was a fair amount of starvation happening with people going on hunger strike over here back in the day.
Oh, okay.
When we were trying to defile the old English people, Bobby Sands, one of them, all this stuff. The troubles in the north and blah blah. You can look all that up. I'm not a historian. I'll make a mistake when I say something about it. All I know is that people starving to death. So check it out. But, other than that, no, sorry.
No, it's fine. All right,
I didn't do my job today.
You're too hungry.
Yeah, that's
too hungry to focus on your job.
Starving.
Follow us on Instagram, all the other social medias at TorturePod. Email us, torturepod@gmail.com. If there's anything you would like for us to cover, or if you have any comments, or if you have any fan art, I would love nothing more than to take some fan art and put it on a t-shirt. I would love that. Put on some limited edition t-shirts and have people wear some fan art. That'd be great. Rate and review.
That'd be pretty cool.
Rate and review on Apple. Follow, subscribe to whatever service you listen on. Head over to our YouTube page. We're doing little snippets and excerpts from the shows where you can actually see our bright and shining faces. If you'd like to donate to the show, you can on our link tree, which can be found on our socials, buymeacoffee.com/torturepod, which can also be found on our link tree. And, of course, now you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/torturepod, or buy some merch at Redbubble, redbubble.com/people/torturepod. Whole bunch of ways to help us out if you feel so inclined. We would be ever so appreciative, but, do what you want. Hint for our next episode. Maybe you shouldn't trust a guy that can't tell you what year he was born.
Okay.
I actually had a lot of ways I could go with this. I couldn't decide which one. That's the one I picked on. I also could have gone with crocodiles sure do love disabled people.
Wow.
So I didn't know.
Like a Monty Python
I didn't know if I would get to that portion of the story in one episode, or if it's going to have to be broken into two or not. I still have to do more research on it to see exactly how long the story's going to be.
Have to find out.
But yeah, I know it's not a great hint, but that's all you're fucking get. So deal with it. I don't know.
It's funny.
I don't fucking tell you. That's all you get. All right. Well, guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Go eat a sandwich or go to Burger King or something. We really need to get a sponsor from Burger King for all this shit. We've been talking about the entire fucking episode.
Now we need a Burger King t-shirt
King?
made up. Burger.
That would be great. Just the Burger King logo, except it says Birger on it instead of Burger. Yeah, that'd be fucking one. And then have Ronald McDonald and Colonel Sanders locked inside a dungeon at the very bottom of it. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. And we'll see you.
I'm going to make dinner. Goodbye.